Hi everybody. I wanted to say, after the fan art scrolls by, that I'm very, very happy has been submitted over the years, but I just really wanted to say I'm tired. And not because I've tried making too much content and burnt myself out. No. That's not the reason. I'm tired because Wizards of the Coast seems to really, really enjoy one particular kind of design, and they keep going back to it, and we get a new one of these about every set now. And I'm not a huge fan of it, but we seem to keep getting it, and that is this generic. We'll go ahead and bring up one of the most egregious examples of this. This is Roaming Throne. And now, obviously, Roaming Throne has one of my biggest problems with recent commander design on it to begin with. Its protection as ward, which means that people end up being more incentivized to play board wipes as opposed to single target removal, because the ward counterspell ability can just create an environment where it costs the same to cast removal as it does to cast a board wipe, so why not just slow everybody's game down in perpetuity, like you're just playing a Super Friends deck and everybody at the table is playing a Super Friends deck. But while I don't like this design, Roaming Throne is the most egregious example of this. It's got ward, but it also has the ability to double any triggered ability of any kind on any creature, and the fact that it basically goes in any kindred deck, it bothers me. It bothers me because it reeks of lazy design. It reeks of something that Wizards kind of got away from a while back, where they would print these commanders that did one thing unanimously well, and then you would build the deck around that thing. And so like Atraxa. Atraxa's a proliferate commander, and the decks that are built around Atraxa end up being Super Friends, or they end up being Infect. Very rarely does a deck end up being something besides that, because, quite frankly, it's just generally stronger to play her one of those ways, and it leads to the commander not being super interesting when she goes to the table. Hell, one of my favorite commanders, AC, isn't a very interesting commander. It's just Tatiova with an extra land ability attached to it. But I say all this because ever since we got cards like Yarok the Desecrated, Wizards seems to have been treading this design space infinitely, let's say. And the biggest example of this is Feelix Five Boots. Everything about Feelix Five Boots screams to me, I don't know what I'm doing anymore, but I'm gonna keep designing anyway. So Felix here is one of the new commanders that was just announced in Thunder Junction. And I know technically it's a legendary creature. It's not a commander primarily, because 60 card Magic is the primary way to play Magic. Right? No, let's be honest. This is designed entirely to be a commander. Feelix Five Boots is a 5 mana commander identical to Yarok the Desecrated, with Menace and Ward 2. And if any creature you control dealing combat damage to a player would trigger an ability of a permanent you control, trigger that ability twice. Now, I've seen this before. Where have I seen this before? I'm fairly certain I've seen this here. I've seen this ability here. Again, except here it's an attack trigger, and it's in Mardu. But aside from that, Ishin is the same ability to me, because every set we have to get something in this design space, this ability doubling design space. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm just a little tired of it, and I think a lot of people are too, because we tend to look at this design space and just go, oh, isn't it so cool that I have another way to double something? The Adrix and Nev deck doubles tokens. The Feelix Five Boots doubles combat triggers when they hit. The Ishin deck doubles combat triggers when they attack. Clara Oswald doubles triggers when it's a doctor. Delny doubles triggers when they're small. Divinod doubles triggers when they die. Elish Norn doubles triggers when they... Don't play Elish Norn, please, for fucking God. Yarok doubles triggers when they ETB. Wolfgar doubles triggers when they punch in the... Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Wait a sec. This is just a power crept version of Wolfgar. Wolfgar's a melee commander that says if a creature you control attacking would cause a triggered ability you control, trigger that ability again. Sorry, Ishin is a power creep version of Wolfgar, and Felix is Ishin in a Sultai suit. But don't worry, if your dinosaurs get hit, we'll double that. If it's legendary, we'll double that. And if you cast instants and sorceries, we'll double that too. Isn't Felix so interesting, everybody? Haven't we seen this design a billion times already? Are you entertained yet by this man? Like, okay, so it's not that I hate the idea of doubling stuff. I just think that if I'm gonna double stuff, generally speaking, I like that ability to be in the 99. And the reason I like that ability to be in the 99 is from a game balance perspective, when you start doing the doubling thing, the deck goes out of control very, very quickly. Delny is not a weak deck, and I have not dealt with a weak Delny deck. Yarok is not a weak deck, and I haven't dealt with a weak Yarok deck. And Varen, I've disassembled this deck twice, because every single time I've built it, it just ends up being super hyper fast Storm. So Feelix Five Boots here, in my opinion, is going to be another instance of a deck that people are going to build, realize is ridiculously powerful at doing what it's doing, and then we'll probably end up taking it apart. Sorry for the burp there. We'll probably end up taking it apart after a little bit if they get tired of their tables doing their thing. But here's my main issue. When you keep designing this exact thing, you slap Ward on a creature, you give it Menace. I don't even know why it has Menace. Like, what is it because it's got multiple hands and so you have to have multiple people blocking it? I guess that's a little thematic, but you slap Ward on it and you slap the doubling ability on it. It's the two gratuitous things Wizards keeps doing, and you just kind of shoved them on again. And here's the issue with this, too. The issue with this is because of the wide breadth of commander product that we get, the Feelix Five Boots design space thing is going to be talked about for 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe, a maximum. Even I probably won't talk about it after that amount of time because there will be other things to talk about. This creates a world where, on the bright side, the cards like Feelix Five Boots coming out won't end up being a huge problem in Commander games because you're not going to see them that often. But then that design space will be tread again and again and again because the only way that you stop a design from happening is when that design becomes overrepresented in the player base and Wizards decides they want to answer that by either providing some kind of counterplay to that or they start printing product that has a lower density of that effect. And eventually, that effect is very unique to a handful of cards. But as of right now, that doesn't seem to be the trajectory they're going. Every set we get, we need to get a Clara Oswald. We need to get a Delny. We need to get a Divinod. We need to get an Elish Norn in the same set, doing the same thing. In the previous sets, we had Ashnod doing that for death triggers as well. Ashnod and Divinod, it's just dying versus sacrificing. It's still the same doubling thing. And again, it's not that I hate that effect. It's not that I hate that ability. I have an Adrix and Nev deck. I have an Ashnod deck. I have some decks that use these doubling abilities. My issue is that when you keep printing this Panharmonicon style thing, specifically in the command zone, the decks end up building themselves very, very quickly. Like Feelix Five Boots, we have green, we have blue, we have black. Gee, I wonder if the draw engine's going to be Bident of Thassa, because it's combat and it has blue. I wonder if it's going to have, like, it's not going to use military intelligence, because that only cares about swinging. It's a swinging trigger, but it's certainly going to end up using coastal piracy. It's certainly going to end up using cards like that. I wonder if it's going to use any green creatures that have triggered abilities when they hit. Oh, I wonder if people are going to turn Feelix Five Boots into a Toxic deck, because Toxic, unlike Infect, is a triggered ability. Gee, God, wouldn't that be so weird if some people decided to do that? Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll make a video about Feelix Five Boots, calling him the most toxic commander of all time, and it's just a Toxic deck specifically. Toxic TM, if you would. And I don't know, maybe I'll play that a bunch of times, and if we get a lot of people playing that, maybe Wizards will look at this design and go, huh, maybe this isn't as good as some of the other stuff that we've done, you know, in recent everything. And I don't mean this just to be a negative video. I don't hate the doubling effects. I just really don't want them to be in my command zone. Not really. And the thing is, you can't say, oh, well, the set, it's in a standard set, so it's designed for standard. No, we don't have designed for standard anymore. Those days are long since over. Wizards designs things for Commander primarily now. There's some thought into the limited environment, but most of the design space seems to all be aimed at Commander. And if that is not the case, then Wizards of the Coast is doing a very convincing job of of making sure that it seems like that is, in fact, what's going on. It feels like everything is made for Commander and then, to a lesser degree, for Limited. And that's about it. I don't feel like things are designed for the 60-card formats that much anymore. Even Modern Horizons comes out and has mostly cards that are designated not for the 60-card format, but for Commander, because of course it's going to be a ton of Commander product released with it and not Modern Precons for some reason. I don't know. This has been a very, very long rant going over just something that I find very, very annoying in Magic the Gathering right now. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. I feel like maybe I'm going off the rails complaining about this thing. Just, I find it boring. I find it boring. It's a design space that's been tread a billion times now. Slap Ward on it, slap some doubling ability on it, and then go to town, I guess. Thanks, Wizards. Insert end of doubling tagline here.
Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Blitzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Nabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.